Hi, this is the making of the Christmas song video that I posted up on YouTube under Vince My Music. First, we're going to take a look at the chord map, and then we're going to go into the arranging and orchestration in Logic Pro. We're going to talk a little bit about the filming of the background, and then finally the videoing of all the different parts, and the assemblage in Final Cut Pro. But first, let's take a look at the original chord changes. Okay, let's take a look at what I wanted to do. I wanted to reduce this down to less than a minute, about a minute, so I'm going to have to chop serious portions out of this. And one of the first things I wanted to do was to substitute changes. So I went to this chord. Essentially an F major 9. And then I went to the F sharp major 9. And then, so let's superimpose that melody. And now I wanted to go right to the bridge, which are the 2 5s, which for me are the emotional engine of the piece. That's another substitution there. Okay, that would be in the chord changes. And now another substitution. Another 2 5. Another substitution there. And I wanted to end it right there. So basically, instead of starting on the root, I started on the 4th. Up a semitone, back down. And that's not, F major 7 anymore. It's a Lydian because it's got the B on there. And all those 2-5-1s made me think of John Coltrane's Giant Steps, which is why I added the at the very end with the muted stuff. The first thing that I did, I guess, was figured out a tempo, and because I already have the chordal map, and so I wanted it down to less than a minute, or around a minute at most. And so I came across, decided upon 70 BPM. And you'll notice that it sort of shifts halfway. That was for other instruments that I thought I was going to use, like some sequences that and loops that were tempo synced, but I ditched that. But I kept the tempo basically with that tempo map in mind. So anyway, the first thing I did was just put in an electric piano, a bass on the second half, just a guide, and just plunking out the chords as I wanted to hear them, and a guide piano melody. So this goes like this. And because the tempo is so slow, I had subdivisions for the metronome. So all of these were just guides, and I ended up trashing all of them. But this was, basically the roadmap that I was going to follow and put in all the other instruments. And so let's just jump to that. This is a balanced version of just the brass. And, you saw on the video that there was flugelhorns, there was trumpets, there was a cornet, there was a pocket trumpet, a small marching baritone, a large baritone, and there's a trombone in there. And anyway, so this is the background horn shots. And as it went into the bridge 2/5 stuff, I didn't want to keep having that same rhythmic pattern that the brass were playing at the beginning, so it got simplified, and you'll hear that here. I'll take the click off. So you see there's quite a bit of brass here. And yeah, that was individually recorded. It was a lot of fun to do, but then again, it can be kind of hard, some of the timings and stuff like that. And I'm not a low brass serious player. I do play some of that stuff, and it's fun for me, but I'm not, I wouldn't say that I could play it as proficiently as I can on my upper brass stuff. But it was fun. So let's see. The next thing that I did was I got the flugel solo happening, and this is pretty important to get the main melody parts down, and plus with doubles and stuff like that, because the doubles, they're kind of important, just for adding thickness. When the instrumentation gets thicker, sometimes the solo instrument just sort of can get swallowed up. And so when you have doubles or triples on that, it just, if they're played close enough, they just sort of add more weight to it. And so this is the brass parts with the melody parts, and it goes like this. So. Okay, so the next thing that I was thinking about adding in there is I wanted a counter line, especially when we get into the bridge stuff, because it's such a beautiful part, with the melody and the ba, but it had room for something that could move along with it and then sort of answer the melody. And so one of my favorite things to do is like do 3 flugelhorns. They go great by themselves, but when you put 3 of them together, they sort of have a really cool sort of sound, and that nothing else can do, really. I know in the video you just see the 2 in the bottom corners, but there's actually 3, and so that got stuck in there, and I'm just gonna throw in a secret weapon, which is this, and that's a triangle. Another thing that I wanted to augment that particular section was with some bells, and sort of sticking with the tinkly stuff. So just starting from there, and I'm also going to add a Fender bass, which I played in there. Here's with the bass part and with some bell parts. So it's starting to thicken up. Anyway, this is just before the bridge. That was that giant steps at the very end there, and that was initially played in on these bell kind of sounds that I filled in with all the different mutes. Okay, where are we now? We got a few more things. Yeah, there's a flute part. Let's see, and let's throw in a trumpet part. Now the trumpets are sort of, they mimic the flugelhorn lines, except they do it up the octave and only on the 3rd time, and then they have this big flourish at the end there, just sort of to put it over the top. So let's throw some of these things on there as well. Oh, and I'm going to throw in a string part here, which is the string mix of stuff that they're mostly sort of pads to support the coming in of the bridge, and then especially when the trumpets lift up. Okay. And lastly, but not leastly, is those harmon mutes that I wanted to throw in there. And it's not just harmon mutes, but it's a bunch of different kinds of mutes. So it's straight mute, harmon mute, 3 different kinds of harmon mute, one with the plunger out, and a cup mute as well. So, and basically what I did on that one is, instead of having them all just play, I took it and I played the part on all of them, but then I decided, I'm gonna chop them up so that each one is playing a separate note, and then they sort of alternate. So let's just take a quick look down here, and you can see it's kind of like a grid, and so that's how they actually play. So they're not ever playing. So it's just like sequentially going, and it sounds like this. So it's kind of wacky because I have them panned really widely, and then so they sort of jump around. And so this is pretty much the full mix. One of the more fun aspects of making this Christmas song clip is getting the background video. And so I went to one of my favorite places in the winter and summer too, Minikara Regional Park in Coquitlam. And I hiked up to the high knoll, which is basically the highest peak of elevation there, and through all the snow. It took me an hour to get from the parking lot to the top, but we're going to rush through this and compress it pretty fast so that you don't have to go through the tedium of that. It was just beautiful in there because of the snowfall, and really, really a special day. Here I stopped to take a picture of a couple of beavers. Everyone loves beavers. And then off we go. And here at the top, it was really quite stunning. It doesn't normally snow up there too often, even in the winter, and so this was quite a special event for me. Now, I've been coming up and doing time lapses up there for a few years, and this year quite a bit too, and I always wanted to do some music for this particular time lapse scene up here. And, so it was an inspiring, portion of, what I'd created. But I also knew that I wanted to do a Christmas song that was brass-centric, and I like to substitute, different chords and stuff like that, just to make it different. And I thought this would be the perfect backdrop for that. And lo and behold, with these conditions, it just turned out to be the perfect day for that. So from some of these images, you can just see how astounding it is. You have that fog, you have the snow on the trees below, this beautiful blue sky, and then with the time lapse, you set up your camera and you just, take photos every 5 or 6 seconds. And this particular time lapse, I think, is on this segment, I think about 26 seconds. So it took nearly an hour and a half just of the camera shooting pictures, and then it assembles the video. And, these are the results. Anyway, I always love being up there. All right, let's talk about the videoing of all the parts. It was quite an undertaking because there's so many. One of the things I wanted to do was actually play the part while it's being filmed, because it just looks that much more real, and nothing looks more fake, I think, than miming. So that's why I played everything. And badly sometimes. Anyway, there were so many instruments on this particular video, and I wanted the background to be different for each one, and so that was accomplished by having a white background, which explains why I'm sitting down and playing, because I would never do that for actual recording. And then having different light combinations on the backdrop, I think really made the backgrounds pop out and then differentiate, which is important for me, because it just adds an extra layer of color and then interest to the background. And many different angles. So that took a fair bit of time, and then we put it all into Final Cut. So you'll notice here that there's many different layers of boxes, and all these different lines is each little box. And so determining where they come in and come out was sort of dictated by the arrangement, and also by where it fit in with the piece. And as it built up, or if there were counter lines, then these boxes would appear. And then for something like this, where the trumpets come in, just there's more weight, and so they take up more real estate. So that's essentially it. Putting it all together was, pretty fun. And, I would probably want to do this again with other projects, and I had so much fun putting it together, but also doing this making of, which actually helps me to examine what it is that I want to keep doing and do better next time. Anyway, if you'd like to see more, please hit subscribe and the like button, and look forward to more stuff.
Thank you. the best.